My grandparents came to this country as immigrants from Eastern Europe, like many of you. They didn't come here out of passion for baseball and apple pie. They were running for their lives. And the journey was arduous and difficult, and the struggle when they arrived was difficult, but they came here to America because they believed in the promise of America. A promise articulated by George Washington in 1790 to the first Jewish synagogue in America in Newport, Rhode Island, that America gives no sanction to bigotry, that every citizen is afforded protection. And Washington ended by quoting scripture, "Each one shall sit beneath his vine and his fig tree, and none shall make him afraid." I am acutely aware that I am the first generation of Jews in 1900 years to live without fear of a knock at the door in the middle of the night. And I don't take that for granted. That my children have been able to pursue their dreams, to attend the universities they chose, to enter the professions they chose, to live in the neighborhoods they chose, to socialize with whomever they choose, with complete freedom and security. Washington said to the congregation in Newport, "This isn't toleration. Toleration is a gift that a majority gives to a minority that has no status. We are all citizens here. We are all equal here." That letter brings tears to my eyes because I have lived out that promise, and I am so very grateful. And the reason I lived out that promise and my children live out that promise is because you stood a post, because you accepted a call, because you answered yes, sir, because you manned a ship or flew a plane, because you lifted a weapon, and you made a pledge. It is an evil world. It is a dangerous world. It is a world which steals lives and souls and freedom, but it will not pass this line. You will sleep safely at night because I will man this post. And I am acutely aware of that, aware of the sacrifice you made, and aware of the horrendous sacrifices made by your families and by the families of your comrades that did not come back to celebrate with us today. And so this congregation every year takes a Sabbath to say thank you, for the gift of this freedom. We, of all people in this continent, we Jews, we understand your duty and what you've given us, the gift that you've given our children. We understand more than most how precious is this liberty, this democracy, and this freedom. So for the veterans who have come today, members of our community, and our precious guests, we welcome you and we thank you for your service, your commitment, your vision, and thank you for being here, because you allow us to do one more sacred task. You allow us to point to you so that our children will see what heroes look like, what men and women of service and duty and responsibility and commitment look like, what real heroes look like. And they will grow up with the same reverence that we were raised. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to have you here with us and to offer you the blessings of this community. My dear friend Harvey Keenan is the author of this morning and the organizer of this morning, and I've asked Harvey if he'll introduce our guests this morning, as well as introducing our program at hand. Please, Harvey.
You all hear me? Okay, so our first guest is a gentleman. You could sit, Joe. Sit down. Is a gentleman by the name of Joe Pietroforte, better known as Bazooka Joe. Bazooka Joe, Joe Pietroforte, is a true hero. And I'm going to talk with him, and we're going to sort of interview him and allow him to tell you his story. He's 106 years old. I want you to open over. And Joe, I made a few notes. Joe's set up in the Ronald Reagan Library, and I tuned in and I learned what Joe did and how he grew up. He came from Bari, Italy, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and then you moved to Philadelphia?
We moved to Philadelphia when I was 3 years old from Italy.
And you have...
That was 1922.
Okay. And Joe has there were 7 boys and 1 girl?
Right.
Right? And did your brothers also get involved in service?
I'm sorry, yeah, 4 of us served.
Okay, and Joe was drafted at 22 years of age, and he went into the infantry. And I'll let you speak about your initial service.
Well, when I was drafted, I took basic training in about 4 different camps in the United States. And I shipped overseas. And I didn't realize at the time, but Eisenhower had given away the 1st Infantry Division to the command of the British. So for 3 months, in October, November, December, I served under General Montgomery of the British Army. And the 1st Division took the first German city of Aachen, Germany. The Germans didn't want the city bombed, and they surrendered it without any bombing. And after that, during the Battle of the Bulge, we were separated, and I had a position up in northern Belgium to protect with 2 other men. But when we saw the German tanks coming, and all we had were rifles, and we walked from northern Belgium all the way down into Viviers in Belgium, where I was reassigned to General Patton's 3rd Army, and I became what we call as a bazooka man, which is a portable rocket launcher about 60 inches long. And I had a lot of action there. I worked with another young man as a bazooka team, and we took out some German tanks, and it was quite an adventure. It was quite an adventure. In the wintertime, in the Battle of the Bulge, we slept on the ground in 20-degree temperature with no blankets, no tent, and quite a few men never woke up. They just froze to death. And I was very fortunate. I don't know, somebody was looking over me. And from that point on, we started moving into Germany, and we took the city, quite a few small towns and villages, and we took the city of Frankfurt, Germany. It was quite a battle. And that's where I took out a few tanks with my rocket launcher and my assistant. And
excuse me, I just want to say one thing. Joe had to carry, this little Italian kid, had to carry a 50-pound pack on his back, am I right? Yeah. Which had a bazooka, ammunition, I guess food, and they had to cross rivers at night, am I right?
I'm sorry?
And you had to cross some rivers at night with
Yeah.
with the backpack, with all that on your back?
Yeah.
And you didn't know how to swim? Am I
Yeah.
right? And so he always made sure that there was somebody next to him that knew how to swim. Am I right?
Yeah.
So Joe, under all that pressure, look what this man did. How he carried a bazooka on his back, took out a couple of tanks, and never stopped. He never stopped. He never stopped doing his duty. So you continue on. I just wanted to let the people here know.
That was quite an experience, of course. And toward the end of the war, Patton wanted to go on to Moscow. and we wound up in a rapid transit system group. And we got as far as Linz, Austria. And we were told to hold there, and we came back. And had an interesting experience while we were waiting to be sent home by train from, we were in Linz, Austria. And quite an experience. My friend said to me, "Joe, would you like a nice German dinner tonight?" I said, "You gotta be kidding. They're going to invite this American soldier for dinner?" Well, as it was, this is a tall, lanky Texan guy. He said, "Wait, it gets a little dark." He says, "You come with me." And we crossed the base of a river, which was knocked out. And he had a motorcycle stashed in the woods with a sidecar. And he said, I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Just jump in." And we got to this small village, and the what's the word for it now? The manager of the town invited us into his home. And they had the wife and 2 daughters. And I said, "What's going on here? We're invited into a German home for a German dinner." And I found out later on, after dinner, that there was a knock at the door. And the father says, "Would you please answer the door?" And I had my rifle with me, and there was 2 Russians. Now, what happened at the end of the war, a lot of the prisons were evacuated voluntarily. Some of the Jewish prisons, the men left. Those that couldn't leave had to be moved out. And I know Patton visited one of the worst camps. And so what happened anyhow, in this occasion, I didn't realize it all that night. The father said, "Joe, answer the door." And there were 2 Russians. What they were doing, the Russians were slave laborers. And what they were doing is robbing and raping the Germans. And they talked to me. I spoke a little bit of several languages. And finally, I gave them a few cigarettes, and I sent them on their way. But I've had a lot of experiences.
How about when you liberated the slave labor camp, right?
Yeah,
Outside of Frankfurt,
outside of Frankfurt, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And how about when the Germans were firing anti-aircraft and you were in a tank, the Germans attacked with their tanks, and Bazooka Joe, with help from others, knocked out a tank. Eventually, U.S. artillery came in to help. Am I right? And at one point had to cross an open field. He had to cross an open field. Tell us about that. On your stomach with your rifle. Why did you have to do that?
Say that again?
Why did you have to cross an open field on your stomach with a rifle? With a rifle.
We had been in the forest, and we were being bombarded by artillery, and about 400 or 500 yards away, where the Germans were in a trench, and they kept bombing the village, or the trees rather. And the idea of bombing the trees was the shrapnel from the trees would come down. And I know there were 2 twin brothers were serving with us, and they jumped into a foxhole, and one of the brothers, a Schroeder, went down and went right through him. And they took the other brother, They took the other brother out of the service after he lost his brother. But I've had a lot of, I've been very, very lucky. Very, very lucky. The worst thing that happened to me outside of Frankfurt, I developed a very swollen jaw, and they sent me to a field hospital. There's no x-rays there. They said, "We're sorry, Joe, but we can't determine which tooth it is. We had to pull all three of them." And they did that, and I went right back into the line, and I come back. But an interesting point, when we're coming back from Linz, Austria, I stopped in, I forgot the city, but I didn't realize it, but my father's sister had married a Frenchman, and she was living there. It's a town with a big cathedral. I forgot the name of it offhand. Anyhow, when I went to the door and knocked, this woman came out, and I started talking to her, and she said, "If you're French, talk French. If you're Italian, talk Italian." She said, "By the way, who are you?" And it was my father's sister. She went out and got us the biggest steak. Yeah. And from there, we went on back to the coast, and I was able to contact my younger brother, Constantino, and he was at one camp, and I was another. The camps were all named after cigarettes. I was at Camp Lucky Strike.
Okay, just, yes? Oh, Rabbi? Oh, okay. I just want to mention that Joe was awarded, actually, he was raised in rank to sergeant, which was a big honor and, upon leaving, am I right? And he was awarded, he has a lot of combat infantry badges for men on the front line, and he has a Silver Star. Why did you get the Silver Star?
I'd taken out the German tank.
Taking out a German tank.
And when I retired, 50 years later, I've been in the motion picture business for 50 years. Anyhow, 50 years later, when I retired at the age of 77, they located my captain, who was living in Arizona, and brought him to my retirement party, and he gave me credit for a few more tanks.
Anyways, you were also awarded the Bronze Star. What is that for?
I'm sorry?
You were awarded the Bronze Star, am I right? The Bronze Star.
Oh, yeah.
What is that
The
for?
Bronze Star is for 6 months in combat, and then I have the
You have a Battle Star.
Battle Stars. I had, hold on a second. I had the Silver Star, the Bronze Star, and a service,
Merit Award.
no, it's for the, it covers the battles of Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany.
Okay.
And then there was another one for 6 months of combat, another one for
What's the Merit Award for?
different occupation. Yeah,
What's the Merit Award for?
I'm sorry.
The Merit Award. Merit Award.
Oh, I don't recall what all. Oh yeah, 6 months of combat, victory medal, and the third medal there.
Okay, and you were awarded many citations, am I right?
Yeah.
What are they for?
Yeah.
Tell us what the citations.
Oh well, I had the citation from the French government. Has citation, second citation from the Army, and then I received a special citation from the government of Luxembourg. It was a Medal of Honor from the government of Luxembourg. And in the museum in Belgium, they have a mannequin of myself in uniform with all my medals. But
So let's hear it for Bazooka Joe. Let's hear it. Hold on.
when I was a young man in Philadelphia, Okay. I was impressed. I was impressed as a young boy of 14. I was impressed with a shop in our area, which was a recycling shop. And the shop was owned by, I believe, I think the last name was Harry Konevsky. I was very attracted. He became like a second father to me. And I used to hang around the recycling shop, and sometimes on weekends I'd ride with him with his truck to the dump where he would pick up cardboard and things like that. But it was very exciting for a young man to be more or less adopted by the Jewish family. I did that for a couple of years before I went to work.
Okay, all right. I gave you some papers, right? Okay, Joe? Okay. So we got to move on. So I got to tell you, for a little Jewish kid from the Bronx to meet this little Italian kid from Bari, Italy, it was an honor and a pleasure to spend time with him. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Okay, our next speaker, can you hear me? Yes. Our next speaker is a gentleman by the name of Nate Forsch. So come on up, Nate. Just briefly, I'm going to share a few of what Nate has accomplished. He began his distinguished military career in August 23, he joined the United States Marine Corps. He reported for training. He was promoted to Private First Class, 1st Battalion, 2nd Marine Regiment, Weapons Company, 81 millimeter mortar platoon. And throughout his early years in service, he deployed 3 times in support of Operation Iraq, Freedom to Iskandaria, Hit, and Baghdad in Iraq. Then he attained the rank of sergeant, and he transitioned to the 2nd Battalion, 23rd Marine Regiment. And I'm going to let him speak now, but this young gentleman has been in combat, has really stood up for our country, and it's an honor for me to introduce Nate Forsch.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. And I'd like to get the niceties out of the way first, so thank you all for your support today, supporting veterans. Thank you to Harvey for inviting me today to speak. And thank you for all the other veterans here who served before me. I hope my peers and I have upheld your legacy to your satisfaction. I apologize to Harvey for not being in uniform today. Unfortunately, my physical fitness routine is not quite what it used to be. And as an accountant, I sit behind a desk more often than I spend running around in the field. I asked Harvey where I should start today for my little talk, and he said at the beginning. So I said I only have 10 minutes. His response was, I'm sure you can do it. So in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. And after a very long time, in the late 1800s, my family immigrated to the United States. Since then, every generation of my family has served in service. From the Civil War to World War I to World War II, we've served our country and each other. Then in 1985, June 1st, my father was actually currently deployed. I entered this world. 18 years later, it was my turn to serve. So in 2003, I joined, and my role for the next 12 years would be in the United States Marine Corps Infantry. Started by being stationed at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina with 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines. I deployed 3 times to Iraq. After that, I became stationed in San Bruno, California with 2nd Battalion, 23rd Marines. I then deployed to Iraq again. After that, I was stationed in Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, where I then deployed to Afghanistan and twice to the South Pacific, where I trained our allies, the Thais, Koreans, Australians, Indonesians, and Japanese. After that, I started a tour on the Marine Security Guard trail and I worked at the U.S. embassies protecting our diplomats by providing internal security. I spent 5 of my 15 years in the Marine Corps deployed, and another 3 years of that stationed overseas protecting our State Department. So the embassies that I worked at was Tegucigalpa, Honduras, Lisbon, Portugal, and Rome, Italy. After a couple months with my last unit of 1st Battalion, 7th Marines in 29 Palms, I retired in 2018. Then became the real challenge. Our service never ends, and I'm currently on the board of the American Legion in 826 in Woodland Hills, Marine Corps League 1490 in Canoga Park, and last year I helped found a nonprofit called Warriors in Need. Now, Warriors in Need is based out of Burbank and Van Nuys, and what we do is we place veterans who have had, issues finding a job and sustaining the transformation out of the service, finding something that they want to do in life. Because a lot of what happens is you get out, you take your first job that you're given, and that's what you kind of do for the rest of your life, and that's not always the best fit. You get bills, you get a family, and it becomes very difficult to get out from underneath that job that you just took to get a job to pay some bills. And so what we do is we provide an avenue for veterans to become aviation mechanics by getting them on-the-job training and finding helpful donors and veteran supporters to help with career management and getting them credentialed so they can be aircraft mechanics. I'm also a partner with Kelly & Partners in our office on Victory and Canoga. So this is my community, and thank you very much for having me here.
I guess so. I guess that he asked me if that's it. I'll make it quick, but I had lunch with him and Bruce the other day, and when 2 combat guys talk, that's not all there is. There's a lot more. So anyway, thank you. And now, Sam, I'm going to present you to Sam Uden. He was kind enough to come up from Long Beach. He's the post commander of Jewish War Veteran Post in Long Beach, and he's going to share his story with you all, and just give him your attention.
Shabbat Shalom. Before I start, I want to acknowledge 3 things. One, it's probably me and Elenu between us and lunch, so I'll be very brief. 2, Sophie, beautiful, Yasher Koach, I think. Cantor, Rabbanim, I think we found the next cantor or rabbi of this community. Beautiful. And 3rd thing, I want to commend this community for honoring veterans. And Rabbi, for that beautiful speech that you gave. Too often, especially since World War II, the divide between veterans and the Jewish community has grown. And with these communities, it's always important to have veterans in the community. Veterans enrich the community, give the young Jewish children role models, like the rabbi said, heroes. So I commend you for this and honoring our veterans. Also Earl Roth and Harvey have been trying to get me up here for a few years, but it's always never a good time to make a schlep to the valley. So I'm very honored to be with you today. My story starts as a young kid growing up in Huntington Beach. I was long-haired and directionless and was struggling to find some strong Jewish role models. Although my family, like Nate's family, has a history of service going all the way back to the Revolutionary War, my uncle had served right after Vietnam in the Air Force. I had many great uncles who served in World War II. After college, I was still looking for something else. I thought I'd find some role models in the Army. So I enlisted in the Army, and very quickly Uncle Sam gave me direction and purpose and plenty of role models. But I was struggling to find Jewish role models. Jerry Seinfeld, Albert Einstein, Larry David, Woody Allen, they all spoke to me, but not as I needed, not to my neshama. Albert Einstein, I wasn't as smart as Albert Einstein, so I wasn't going to go to math or science. And I wasn't really looking for, neurotic, meek, I didn't fit that mold. And Israeli soldiers always spoke to me, but I wasn't so brazen and brash as the Israeli soldiers. But through my service, what I did find is the rich history of Jewish American military history that I had no idea existed. And that is what my passion is to tell that Jewish American history. I founded a nonprofit called the Jewish American Military Historical Society. We're at jewishmilitary.org. We put out a comic book that tells these stories, and it goes back to before our country existed. Asher Levi was in the colony of New Amsterdam and petitioned the governor to be able to serve and fought against the new Swedish colony before we were a country. There's many others. The Jews joined the militias when we were in the colonies. They fought with George Washington in the French and Indian War before the Revolutionary War even happened. Through the Revolutionary War, there's many, many heroic Jewish service members. The very first that died for our country, the very first Jewish American was Francis Salvador, who was known as the Paul Revere of the South. And going forward, the War of 1812, the North Indian War, the Barbary Wars with Uriah Levy, who you've probably heard of, the Mexican-American War, and I can list every single war this country has fought in, and there's been proud Jewish Americans that have served in those wars honorably. And the sad thing is we do not hear these stories. So I'm here to tell some of those stories and just make sure that those stories are known. Having veterans in the community helps for us to understand the pride and Jewish service that we've had to this nation. So anyway, Aleinu and then lunch. So I won't take much time. I'll stick around, and thank you very much.
I need a favor. Earl, I'm going to let you stand up and say what you want to say. I know you have to leave. So Earl is the commander of Jewish War Veterans Post 603. He has to leave early today. So if you want to make a quick statement, Earl, I'll give you the mic, okay? But please make it quick. Otherwise, Rabbi Feinstein's not going to let me in here anymore.
Actually, I have a few more minutes. I got to stay for lunch. But no, I want to... Hats off to all the veterans here. And Sam Uden, Bazooka, and Mr. Korsh confirmed everything. Without the veterans beginning pre-revolutionary through World War II and beyond, this building wouldn't exist. It would not exist. And of the Jewish faith, we would not exist. Just think about it. So we owe so much to the veterans. And so that's what our Post 603 does, our Jewish Veterans Post. That's what we do. We assist veterans of all ethnicities. We're just working on a Vietnam mobile wall. Think about that for mid-October. And we also donated to Operation Gratitude for active military assistance. And we're active in all the VAs throughout California area, all in the name of Jewish war veterans, Post 603. We want to keep the legacy going. Join a veterans group. If you're a veteran, even if you're not a veteran, you can join a Jewish group or a veterans group. Wings Over Wendy's is here in huge numbers. Terrific group. Our Post 603 welcomes you as a patron or as a member. So see me about it. Thank you again for coming and giving tribute to our heroes. Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to make a quick mention. We're going to have a luncheon in Shiloh Patty where everyone here will have an opportunity to speak, tell their stories about military that served in their family or themselves. And once again, I want to thank Rabbi Feinstein and everybody here for allowing me to do this. Thank you.
We want to thank Harvey for his efforts in putting this all together.